Right, 2013. I don't have much for this year because I was just starting out at university and I was probably doing most of that stuff. But here are some very basic drawings. As you can see, I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I'm still using Critter at this point rather than Photoshop. But yeah, it's all very simple flat colours or sketchiness. 2014 started out pretty the same as what you saw before. I was obviously trying to get a little bit more painterly here with this elephant piece, and I was trying to get some character feel. I feel like I was an animator, I was studying animation, why couldn't I draw characters? And you can kind of see this here. I was trying to draw people characters, but just not really having any understanding of how to render, so just doing line work. And you can see here in this piece that I'm really trying to be able to show like the ideas I have. I wanted to do lighting. I wanted to show that I had beautiful colours somewhere in me, but I just didn't know how to render properly yet. And then midway through 2014, I had my biggest art breakthrough that I've ever had. I was working on a short film pitch for my final year of university called Bill Block, which you can see here. And I was trying to emulate a 1960s illustration style. So I started using the lasso tool. And I've talked about this in every talk I've ever done, but this opened my mind. I was suddenly able to kind of block in solid colours and think about shadows in a really graphic way rather than making fluffy over-blended brush strokes, and this just opened everything for me. Even like I was able to draw characters better and shapes. I realized that I was much more a shape orientated person rather than line, so this really helped me. And by the end of the year I was making stuff like this where I was combining line work but using this watercolour brush to kind of fill in these graphic lasso tool shapes, and it's a brush I still use to this very day. It's like served me so well. And yeah, 2014 was a huge breakthrough, and seeing the art that you saw at the beginning of this year compared to now, like, it was incredible. Boom. We're in 2015. This was just really the time for me to lean into the fact that I had the lasso tool in my toolbox now, and I just went crazy. It was my chance to really lean into the fact that I loved environments. It was my time to show that I knew how to do lighting. I knew how to do colour. It was in my brain. I just hadn't been able to draw it down before. And I just really came into my element. And most of these pictures were done in 30 minutes because I was part of a group called Daily Spit Paint on Facebook, where we would draw 30-minute drawings to a topic each day. And that speed really helped me to like hone what was like important about an image. So this was like a great year for just growth. So 2016, I was just kind of elaborating more on this. I was starting to use different brushes than just that one brush that I had been using to kind of get more texture into the pieces I was making. I was also trying to lean into just more character stuff, more lighting. And by the end of the year, I was kind of using stamp brushes and things like that. And it's important to note here that at the end of 2015, I had got a job as a concept artist at Blue Zoo in London. So this final piece here was a concept piece for them. And I think that and drawing every day just meant that I was getting better and better quicker. 2017 was just more of the same. I was trying more brushes and more textures and things like that, but I was just kind of finding my groove, and I think I'd like fallen into a good place. And towards the end of the year, I think I started to feel like I needed to push myself a bit more again. So I started to do some studies. You can see here a picture of a woman that I studied from a photograph. I hadn't really done that before, and I was returning to that painterly brush to see if those years of learning with the lasso tool had taught me anything, and they had. And then this image on the right is still on my portfolio. It was my profile picture on social media for about 4 years. And it's very special to me because it was the first time one of the first times I drew a white dog in an image. And now obviously I have my lovely twigs. So 2018 for me was where you start to see my current style evolve. It was a year where I feel like because I had got this such good ground of what my style was and how I was working, I could push myself. Like I said before, I was able to be brave. I was trying out different things. I was setting myself challenges to just draw an image with one brush only, to like move away from the lasso tool completely for some images and just see what my skills were capable of now. And it was such a fun and inspiring year, I felt like, because I just got to kind of be joyful and try things that I didn't think I was capable of and actually pull them off. 2019 was another huge year for me because it was the year I decided that I wanted to go freelance. About May of that year, I decided that I was going to leave the job that I'd had since I left university and go on my own. It was also the year that I discovered a new brush that I renamed from Kyle's brush set that I renamed Scratchy Gouache, and almost all these drawings are made with that brush. It was also a year of really leaning into photo studies, and I've kind of lent into that ever since, but it was really fun to kind of look at an image and get those really strong details going and learn about lighting and how to render things. But also it was a year where I was able to combine the skills that I had learned so far. So with this image that I did for Paddington, it's got the lasso tool, it's got the Scratchy Gouache line, it's got a bit of everything, and it was really fun to start kind of piecing my art together. 2020 was obviously an awful year for everyone, but for my art, it was great. I was really able to kind of finesse what I was doing and get into the details. And again, it's a moment of like honing after pushing yourself a bit further. And also in this year, I got my job at Netflix. So I created less art because I was so into the project I was working on. And I wish I could show you my Netflix work because it's my favourite work that I've ever done, but it's banished forever because it was cancelled. So you're going to have to deal with these little bits that I have from 2020. We're in 2021 and I would really recommend you do this with your own art because I'm now looking at my art being like, wow, I got really good all of a sudden. And so, yeah, if you go back to the stuff where you're not good and then look at where you are now, it makes you feel way better about your art. And this comes from someone who's very self-conscious about their art always. But this year, again, there's not much to show, but I got into Procreate quite a bit. And also I discovered the noise filter. So almost all my art now has the noise filter. I know it drives people crazy, but I like how it kind of flattens an image and kind of ties all the elements together. And I like things that look like they're vintage, so kill me. 2022, I start the year working at Golden Wolf. Here's a piece I did for the Weetabix project I worked on there. Kind of proving to myself that I can, again, kind of push myself into a more painterly style and do different things, which is really refreshing when you find that you can do something that you didn't think you could do. I went freelance again and I did some character designs for a stop motion project, proving that even though I'm not the best character artist in the world, I can draw characters when I want to, just not as good as other people. And also it was a year of rediscovering my love for the Technicolor, which you saw probably at the very start of this video, and kind of being like, yeah, I know how to draw realistic colours now, let's push this as far as I can go. And here we are, 2023. I started the year in Japan. I spent a month in Tokyo creating work for an art residency there at Almost Perfect. So I did my photo studies again, but I added cute characters in, and this is kind of like the interesting thing of looking back at this work. I did cute characters, then I did photo studies, and now I'm merging all those things together. I also have been doing some speed paints around my work that I'm working on a feature film at the moment. So I'm taking some of the brushes and things that I'm using for the concept art for the feature film and applying it to my own speed paintings and kind of just really simplifying things again, because it's nice to be like at the point where I know how to do details now and think, how can I simplify it? How can I make this kind of more graphic and eye-catching? And this is a piece I did recently, which is now for sale at Spoke Art, based on the anime Susume, full of details but kind of bold and graphic in a way as well. And I think here, as I sit here kind of thinking about this last decade of art, it's really nice to see the progress, but also the progress in how I get work. Touch wood, as I've gone on and the years have passed, it's been easier and easier to get work. I now have a really good network of kind of freelance jobs and studios I work with, and my name is out there in a way that it wasn't 5 years ago even, and I think it's just a nice lesson to kind of teach for people watching this who feel like they're at the start of their journey, that as you create more work, as you get your style out there, as you find who you are, people will find you too, and the work will get to you easier, and you will be drawing every day and you'll be getting better. And I cannot wait to see what my art looks like 10 years from now. Thanks for watching, folks.